My name is Michael Pardee. I grew up in a very small town in central Missouri, went to Bell High School, graduated, went to the University of Missouri-Rolla, and got my geology degree there. I actually got a BS in geology and geophysics in 1978. In the summer of '78, I went to Midland, Texas, and worked for City Service as a summer intern in their geophysical department. And they said if I could go back to school and get my degree in December, they'd hire me back permanently in December of '78. So I went back to school, got my degree, and ended up coming to Midland. Was in Midland by Christmas of 1978. Started working for City Service. I left City Service between Christmas and New Year's of 1981 and went to work for a family company called Wagner & Brown Limited, and went to work there. About a month later, I met a young lady, Kathy Scott, who ended up becoming my wife 5 months later. So I had a lot of good things happen to me at Wagner & Brown. I worked there for 28 years. They were very supportive of the AAPG and what I was doing there. After Wagner & Brown in 2008, 2009, I went to work for Reliance Energy as VP of Exploration. Reliance had a couple large assets in West Texas they wanted to try to develop. We started developing those assets, and in 2016, October, we sold those to Concho. And at that point, then I started my own company called Beryl Oil and Gas. I have 3 grown children. Robert is my youngest son. He's a geologist. He works with me at Beryl. My daughter, who's the oldest, she is a business major and she's the office manager for Beryl. And then my middle son, my middle child, he's an engineer. He went to the dark side. So everybody has to have one in the family. I have one granddaughter. She's 5 years old and she likes to collect rocks. So she's a chip off the old block. It happened in an early time with like a lot of people. I was riding my bike and ended up finding a rock that had a Mississippian, turned out to be a Mississippian coral, and it kind of looked like half a walnut. So when I was younger, I thought I found a petrified walnut. It was probably a little rugose coral from the Mississippian age. And I found it, and that kind of got me started collecting rocks. And every time I'd find a rock that was shaped oddly or crystals and stuff like that, I'd start collecting them. In central Missouri, we had a pretty unique geology there that we had a lot of floatstone come down with the glaciation. There was a lot of neat fossils in some of those rocks, and so I would collect them. And by the time I got to high school, I'd filled up my parents' basement, about half of it, with nothing but rocks. I built shelves and put them on there. And as we traveled out west when I was a kid, I'd pick up rocks. And I learned very quickly that I'd gather everything. And we went to the Gulf Coast one time and I was picking seashells up like crazy and putting them in my dad's trunk of our car. Well, nobody realized that there was hermit crabs in those things. And when the trunk got hot, they crawled out, crawled in every part of the trunk they could and died. And the car stunk. So my dad started letting me not collect certain things on trips. If rocks were good, but anything else was not allowed. I got so much into it that even in high school, my little high school, I graduated 41 kids. And when we graduated, they do song dedications. And oddly enough, my song dedication was Love Me Like a Rock. The thing I most enjoy, I'll start there, is the people. Really enjoyed meeting a lot of people and gave me an opportunity to meet people all over the United States and all over the world being involved with AAPG. I got started in AAPG like a lot of people did with the local societies. I was a member of the West Texas Geological Society and the Permian Basin Section SEPM. From that, I ended up going in and working on the convention in the early 90s for the Southwest Section. And so that got me involved a little bit closer with AAPG, and from there I was elected as a delegate to the AC for the Southwest Section and also a delegate to the DPA from the Southwest Section. Not a delegate, but an advisor to the DPA. And then I was a delegate in the House of Delegates. Through that, I spread out and joined a lot of committees, and later on I ended up being president, vice president of DPA, president, vice president of Southwest Section, and then I served in the early 2000s as secretary for AAPG. But I just think it's the people. I mean, you know, it kind of goes back to we have one thing in common, it's the rocks. And sitting at conventions or sitting at meetings and talking to people about field trips, field camps, and telling old stories about what we did. It's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot. I think one of the things that's facing APG right now is the industry's been transforming over the last several years, and with the shale revolution, a lot of things are changing. The financial side's changing. In the old days, you'd come up with an idea, get a few leases, and go out and sell them. Well, nowadays, To get somebody to do an idea for a shell play, you really have to have about 10,000 acres. And so it gets harder for the small independents to do it. We do not have the major companies that hire a lot of the young geologists and mentor them and train them and send them to schools and stuff. We're losing all that. And I think AAPG is doing a lot of that, but I think it has to step it up a little bit. With all the private equity companies out there that are basically coming in and they're basically a 5-year model. Take it, find an asset, develop it, and then monetize. Well, the good thing about that is the people that found the companies and are the principals of the companies that do it, they get good paychecks, but the geologists a lot of times in the trenches are not getting a cut of that action. They're working and doing the geosteering and doing the geology and the petrophysics, and they may be getting a little bit of money off of them, but they're not getting the big paydays. And I think we have to really educate our members on how all this financing works, whether it's mezz financing, financial institution banking, or just the PEs. There's 20 different ways to do PE deals, and we have to make sure that geologists don't become basically subservient to the engineers in the banking industry. We got to become relevant, and as AAPG, we have to make sure that our members stay relevant in the industry. We got to remember we're a member organization and we got to get back to the membership. And so anything we can do, whether it's short courses, which we do a lot of, field trips, which we do a lot of, we need to keep going that direction. And we also need to look and try to expand out. I think we need to take the young kids. We're doing a lot of mentoring with them with the YPAs and stuff like that, and we need to expand on that. I think there's a lot of things in place that the AAPG is doing right now, and they're doing it right. It just needs to be expanded on and maybe pushed a little bit harder in certain directions and fill those niches for our membership. Well, AAPG has given me a lot, and I was fortunate enough in my early career to work for Wagner and Brown. Cy Wagner, who's one of the principals with Jack Brown, really liked for us to be involved with the organization, geological organizations, and really fostered that. And his whole idea was that you make contacts. And it was back then, we didn't call it networking, we were just making friends, but now it's networking. And by going and getting involved with the AAPG, I knew people from the eastern section, from the California, Pacific section, the Gulf Coast. So if Wagner and Brown decided to get involved, like one time we went and looked at the getting involved in California. Well, I knew the people to call to find out who I needed to talk to, if I needed a consultant out there, who I could get. And so I knew all these people. And as we did stuff internationally, we drilled wells in Australia where we actually collapsed a rig offshore in Australia. That was a story for another day, but we got to know the people there that we could talk to within the government when we had problems and stuff, that we made contacts and networked with those people. So, and that was all possible through the AAPG. So being involved, it's my turn to give back. I'm in a position in my career where I can do it, and I felt like I was asked to do it, and I felt like I had an obligation to do it.